as the sexual misconduct scandals continue to unfold, our gender editor, Jessica Bennett, is providing updates and analysis on the coverage and conversation in a new newsletter. Sign up here to receive future installments, and tell us what you think at nytgender@newyorktimes.com. She called them dream crushers. Her name is Elizabeth Dan, and her story is no less upsetting for its familiarity. She is one of 9 women who told me in detail about the sexual harassment and assault they suffered over decades at the hands of the celebrated playwright Israel Horovitz, the subject of an investigative article that was published last week. Ms. Dan, who was 28 at the time of the abuse, did not stop acting, but she did veer away from the theater, instead doing mostly television commercials. She is now 56, and said the toll never fully went away. It's not just that you've been manipulated and your personal space has been invaded, but it messed with me, she explained. It messed with how I saw my talent. That quote never made it into the story, one of many of the anecdotes that, after weeks and in some cases months of reporting in stories like these, often fall to the cutting room floor. Also unpublished are the anecdotes of how we as journalists do this reporting, which often requires us to delicately ask people to divulge and trust us with memories among most painful of their lives. My colleagues Jodi Kantor, Megan Twohey and Emily Steele, the investigative reporters who, along with Michael Schmidt, broke the stories about Harvey Weinstein and Bill O'Reilly, spent many months doing just this. Tuesday night in Los Angeles, they discussed what it was like behind the scenes of that process, and they were joined by the actress Ashley Judd, whose own story of harassment by Mr. Weinstein helped spark the current Me Too moment. You can watch the replay below, or in a separate window by clicking here. Before the event, we asked Ms. Kantor, Ms. Twohey and Ms. Steele to answer 3 brief questions. What did your reporting process look like? Cold calling? Knocking on doors? All of it? Emily Steele, we started by looking at one specific case from 2004, where a young producer on Bill O'Reilly's show sued him for sexual harassment. It was a big public case that had been all over the tabloids, and then it settled and you never heard from her again. So we started by going through the lawsuit and making a list. Who was this woman? Where did she go to college? Who did she work with at the time? Who was on his staff over this 2-decade-long period? And essentially we just started dialing for dollars. Mike and I would sit in this little conference room, we had this crazy, very Homeland-style map on a whiteboard wall. And we just kept calling and calling and calling and calling. Convincing sources to go on the record is an incredibly delicate process. How did you tackle it? Megan Twohey, what I've found can be useful is to say, which I believe, that we know we can't change what's happened to you, but we may be able to prevent this from happening to other women. I always try to stress in my first conversations that this is a process.